Get your game face on. Get your game face on.
G'day and welcome to another big edition of the Gameface Sfnl Division 1 footy show, and finals starting this week and it's all happening. Hello to you, Benny Lockwood.
How are you, Will? Yeah, good to be here again, mate. Yeah, big week of footy and we roll into the real stuff now. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Absolutely. The final round of the home and away season is now behind us. Dingley, they clinched the minor premiership for 2019. The Colts, they'll also see some finals action, so well done to the guys down there. Oakley District, unfortunately, the side relegated. They'll be back in Division 2 next season. The coaches, there's a little bit of movement on that front. Another club looking for a senior coach for 2020, while another one will sign on and go around again. And, of course, as we said, the finals, they're kicking off this week, and we'll have a look at all the sides that are in it, have a look at their biggest stars and who will have the biggest impact come
Absolutely.
finals. So that'll be very, very exciting. But first things first, of course, the coaching world, always some plenty of movement at this time of the year, and Mick Brown has tendered his resignation from the Morty Alec Football Club as of last week, I believe, late last week.
Yeah, last Thursday apparently informed the club, and then I think all players, supporters were informed after the game at Port Colts on Saturday. So, yeah, I think he's about to have his first baby. So he's off to spend some time with the family,
Yep.
and good luck, Mick. You won't get much sleep over the next 3 months, but you'll still enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, congratulations to Mick on your upcoming arrival. Big news for him, obviously. And, yeah, congrats on a job well done there at Morty. He obviously joins, Morty obviously looking for another senior coach. They join Hyde as well. We broke the news of Sammy Hecker's departure, and he's been great, as we say, every week for the Hyde Footy Club. One side that's not looking for a coach is Bentley. Peter Pereira signed on for next season.
Yeah, into his third season or second 2.5 years now. I think took over halfway through. Well, actually, be his 4 seasons, I think, going into his 4th season. So, yeah, he signed back on, which gives them a bit of stability. And, yeah, they had a good second half of the year. So, no reason for them not to do that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they didn't finish too far out of the top 5 for this season, and yeah, plenty for those two sides to work on for next season. They haven't been awful this year. They missed out on finals action, but at least they've got some positive signs for next season.
Yeah, absolutely. They can go in and yeah, maybe recruit a couple. Might get Jed Lamb back for the whole year next year. You never know, and yeah, they might be around the mark again, hopefully in 2020.
That'll be a huge get, and it's certainly a better side with Jed Lamb in it, as we saw early in the season. But I think the key result from the weekend, Port Colts, they needed to get a win to really cement themselves in that top 5. Morty Alec were another one of the challengers for that 5th position, and unfortunately it was one-way traffic early with the Colts saluting a big win there, and it was all over early with 6 goals to none in the first term.
Yeah, first 15 minutes of footy, it was done. So Q was in the rack. Yeah, disappointing for Morty Alec. Wasn't probably the way they wanted to finish the season. Obviously, it was going to be a big task for them to play finals, but the challenge was there. Unfortunately, they weren't up to it. Port Colts were fantastic, especially early. Their endeavour, you could just see they were switched on from the first bounce. And, yeah, look, they go into finals on Sunday with a little bit of momentum. So
Yep.
You'll see how they go Sunday.
Which is fantastic, and obviously almost a brand new side this season and a new coach as well. Sort of took them a little while to gel early in the season, but they've really come together well in this back half of the year. And unlike last year where they had a bit of a final half fade out,
Yep.
As you say, they're heading into finals with a little bit of form, and that was really pleasing on the weekend. So
Yeah, absolutely.
they're definitely heading in the right direction, and plenty of players have been announced that are recommitting to the club in 2020. So a pretty good first season, I guess, for a lot of these players at JL Murphy. But the likes of Tyson Payne, Jesse Bowe, Mitch Clark, Milton Hall, the two co-captains in Wood and JT, Mitchell Russell, important. They've all re-signed. Harris, Jackson Brown. They're building for next season, and next year I reckon they can have a fair income crack at it.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to just maintain your list and then add a couple each year. So, yeah, they'll be around the mark. They're obviously hoping in the next month to go deep into finals, though, so there's no reason they can't either. So, yeah, good luck to them.
One player that hasn't re-signed for them, unfortunately, Matthew Dalla Libera, the big ruckman for the Colts. He's announced he'll be hanging them up at the end of the season. He's had a pretty good career as the big fella and been an impactful player for the Colts when he's got on the park this season. So well done to you, Dalla, on a great career. But so unfortunate news for Morty, not for Morty, for Port Colts. The valuables bag got nicked on the weekend.
I heard that. That's yeah, never great when that happens. Obviously, they're going through a rebuild down there with their rooms and mustn't have locked up their gear. But yeah, that's very frustrating when that happens, no doubt.
There's been some footage floating around of the alleged perpetrator, but what sort of low-life scumbag just rolls in and takes some of that? That is pretty ordinary stuff, and hopefully all the guys down there can get their stuff back, because that is pretty ordinary.
It actually happened to the Dingley guys last year, so same thing at Port Colts. They had their stuff stolen, so it's happened 2 years in a row. So, yeah, not great. But anyway, we move on.
A funny story. I was chatting to the Hallam women's captain last night for the show, and their rooms got burgled a couple of years ago, and they got into the thieves got into the lockbox and found a whole heap of sealed envelopes in it, and thought, oh yeah, we're on here. Here's a fair bit of cash.
Took the vote count cards.
They took the votes. So their votes were from the second half of the year. Geez, that's frustrating. And the thieves got away with nothing. So
they didn't get much.
No, absolutely. But yeah, just completely ruined their best and fairest, which is ordinary. Moving on, Dingley, as we said, they're the minor premiers for season 2019, and they're sitting on top of the ladder. They get the week off this week. They've had an outstanding season, particularly the back half, and well done to them to turn their fortunes around.
Yeah, look, they probably had a slower start than normal with Dingley. Dingley are renowned to jump out of the blocks really early and quickly each year, but they've probably done it in reverse. Yeah, look, they're the second half of the year, they're probably the form side. So, they'll go in full of confidence. As we all know, they're playing Morty Alec are hosting a couple of finals, so they're not going to have to travel far. I think they've got all four sides from the Henrys, the thirds, seconds, under-19s and seniors in. So their club would be just up and about at the minute. So, yeah, they're right where they probably want to be.
And the netball played off in the grand final on Sunday in Division 1. Unfortunately, they didn't get the chocolates. But
Heatherton Netball Club won 7 grand finals or something, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they won 3, which is huge.
It's a lot.
Yeah, good on. But interestingly, from Dingley, their spearhead Dan Farmer was in the race for the leading goal shooter award, leading goal kicker award, and booted 7 on the weekend to really keep a little bit of distance from Steve Muller. Steve Muller also booted 8, so a bit of a...
Yeah, I reckon Farms might have had the old Gameface app brought to him at three-quarter time just to know where he was at, just to kick a couple of sealers. Would have said, no doubt, boys, kick it to me. I need to win this medal, but no, only joking, Dan. Well done, mate. Well deserved, and has been a great player for Southern Footy League for many years.
He's an absolute star, and another great day out from Muller as well. You reckon those boys would have been looking for those two? Just get them a few goals and take that title. Moving on, Oakley relegated. A disappointing season. They haven't really put the wins on the board. Obviously, 1 win for the season, but some positive signs. They're going to go back into Division 2 next year, and they've got a little bit to work with. Yeah,
they're unlucky. They're definitely not the worst side in Division 1 to get relegated. They've been competitive most weeks. We've spoken about that. Dom Carousella's re-signed again next year, so I actually expect that Oakley will be a dominant player in Division 2 next year.
I would think so too, and 2 of their key players, obviously Jake Mullen and Jake Carousella, have had outstanding seasons, and they'll be fantastic players in Division 2.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt, yeah. 100%. You know, well, Jake will obviously stay. His dad's coaching, and again, that's Carousella, and you hope Jake Mullen, he's been at Oakley for a long time, and he's definitely one of the best key forwards in Division 1. So look out, Division 2 backman next year. He will be hard to stop. Featured pretty highly in the top 35 from last week, but we'll touch on that a little bit later on. Highton and St Kilda City, the other 2 that missed out on finals. Where to for them? What were your thoughts? Yeah, look, they've both had St Kilda City up and down. They're good footy, scintillating. We've spoken about that. They need stability going into 2020. They just need to make sure they keep a fair percentage of their list. If they can keep 80%, only chase that 20, generally they keep 20, chase 80. If they can flip that in the head, make a decision, Matty Hoy, he's either in or out. Hopefully he's in for them. I think he did a great job for the second half of the year. They can be around about the mark. Height, similar. They've got to obviously find a coach first. Keep their list. Their list isn't that bad again. They were competitive most weeks, and go again next year. So yeah, they'll both grow and be better next year, I think.
I think their key problem was losing some real key blokes, and obviously they probably didn't have the depth as some of the others. And when you're losing the key players that they did, it's always going to make them difficult. But
absolutely.
Hopefully those 2 sides can reload for season 2020. Now moving on, Lockers, the Swibs Locker team of the week for Division 1, the final one of the season. We've gone through the tapes. We've had a look at a few games, and let's kick it off from the back line.
Right, backline, Lucas Hall, East Malvern, finally played back. I think it's first time this year, and he's in the team of the week. Mark Lonigan, East Malvern, and Daniel Harris from Chelts had an outstanding season.
Absolutely. On the half-back flank, Brendan Dawes from St Paul's. Good to see him finally back in the team of the week. Max Mitchell-Russell from Port Colts at centre half-back, and Traveller Rocker from Dingley putting together an outstanding season.
Absolutely. Centre line, we've got Kyle Hendy 2 weeks in a row in that position. Chris DeLuca, outstanding, set the tone on Saturday for Port Colts and was fantastic. And underrated player from East Malvern, Nathan Gray on the wing. Good left foot kick and, runs all day.
Yeah, he's a terrific player and certainly flies under the radar. Half forward line, Robert Utica from Cheltenham. He's putting together an outstanding back half of the year and another couple of goals on the weekend. His teammate Will McTaggart also amongst the goals at centre half forward, and Ryan Semmel, midfield forward, getting it done with another 2 snags on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Full forward line. Daniel Farmer, as we said, the leading goal kicker for the year was 7. Steve Muller kicked 8, the big full forward from St Paul's. It's going to be vital on Sunday for them. And Corbin Sutherland kicked 5, I think, all in the first, well, definitely all in the first half against East Malvern on the weekend. And, had a good second half of the year, no doubt.
Those 3 players certainly picked themselves with their efforts on the weekend. The rucks, probably no surprise. Chris Carey again, just a dominant force in the ruck. Dylan Weikart from Cheltenham, another great game on the weekend. And Aaron Purvis on the ball as well. I think he featured on the back flank last week, but gets a run in the rotations this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a good second half of the year, did Aaron. Interchange bench, got Sam Haslam from Mordialloc. Finished the year very strongly. Little Kel Cathcart from Port Colts. I think kicked 3 goals, always dangerous around goals. Second ruckman, Nick Halliday for this week. Played really, really well on the weekend. Back to some form, which is good for him. And the last spot, the captain of height, Tom Brown, played really well again and has all year.
And good to see Tommy Brown in there again as well, because he's had an outstanding season. It's been difficult for the doggies, but took out their best and fairest again on the weekend. He's been a superb performer throughout the season, picture consistency. Yeah,
and probably I would suggest he's a multiple best and fairest winner at the Height Footy Club.
Yep. And Sammy Jackson finished second. He's been good as well. Moving on, the finalists. There's 5 sides that can now win the premiership: Dingley, East Malvern, Cheltenham, St Paul's, and of course Port Melbourne Colts. We've had a look at their list and analysed a few of their key performers, some guys to keep a bit of an eye on, some of the X factors and the match winners. And we'll kick it off with Dingley, mate. Who are some of the guys that you've earmarked to have a big final series?
I've actually got their most important as their ruckman, Big Giggsy. He's going to have to play a big role over the next month of footy. We speak about Chris Carey, how good he is. Giggsy's a very good player. Obviously, you can't forget guys like Noodles and stuff. They're great. X Factor, a little bit of out of the box guy that had an injury interrupted season, but Robbie Rooson on a big ground, whether it be at Mordialloc or RSEA Park, could play a massive hand in these finals. So he's my X Factor, and my little Smoky. I've actually got a little Smoky for the Dingoes. A little kid called Lockie Lamble. He's coming to the side late in the year. He's a very, very good small forward. So watch out for him in the coming weeks also. Absolutely. Some impressive players there. The one I really like the look of is Liam Hart. I mean, he's been such an improved player over the course of the season and the last couple, but he's, I think, tailor-made for finals because he cracks in really, really hard. He can impact the scoreboard and sort of flies under the radar a little bit as well. He hasn't really been. He takes a lot of the other guys take the limelight. Obviously, your Aids and your Farmers and your Horton Milnes and, as you say, your Noodles as well. So he flies under the radar. The other one I'd really like to take a bit of a look at is Remy Faulkner-Wood. Young kid. He's, again, flies under the radar, but when he's on form, kicks multiple goals, and with Farmer in there taking most of the limelight, as I say, that's sort of tailor-made for him to sort of bob up and kick a few. And of course, Danny Aids is a Manili medalist, an interleague captain, and just an absolute superstar. Teams have got to be hard pressed to keep him quiet. Now, East Malvern, obviously a no-brainer in Chris Carey, their most important player, the most important player in the competition. But there's a few other guys that you've earmarked to really step up. Yeah, I've gone down a different track. We all know how important and how great a player Chris Carey is. We sing his praises every week. I've got their most important player this year in the final series is Mark Lonigan down back. If he can contain the likes of Kelso, McTaggart, or not so much Kelso, but McTaggart from Chelt, Daniel Farmer from Dingley, Lockie Harris from Port Colts, Matty Kremborg or Steve Muller from St Paul's, and restrict their influences, he'll have a big say in how East Malvern goes. So I've got him down as their most important, and their X factor, I've actually got Alex Highwood, who this time last year absolutely ripped the heart out of Morty Alec in a final. I think kicked 4 goals and was fantastic. So he's been building, can do it again in the coming weeks. So they're my 2 for East Malvern. I'm
a massive fan of Mark Lonergan, as you know, and yeah, he is just a superbly important player for that side. Nathan Gray, we featured him in the team of the week, and there's a lot of good players through that East Malvern midfield. And as you said, during the team of the week, he tends to fly under the radar a little bit, with a lot of the guys putting time and effort into, you know, guys like Fry and Sumner as well, and of course Robinson. But he just gets the job done every single week, and without fuss, gets a lot of the footy, uses it well, and I think, you know, I think by the end of the final series, we might see a few teams putting a fair bit of effort into him.
Yeah, good wingman, elite kick of the footy. So yeah, I've no doubt that as a game with all these sides, we can name probably 8 to 12 players from each. But yeah, Nathan Gray will play an important part, no doubt.
And every time we've had a look at him, he's always been one of the ones to really stand up. So looking forward to seeing him over the course of the next few weeks, maybe 4. We'll have to wait and see how the cards fall. Cheltenham, they were on top of the ladder for the majority of the season. They still finished in the top 3, and geez, you could throw a blanket over those top 3. But who have you got penciled in to keep an eye on?
I think their most important player come finals will be Big Charlie Kelso. 207 centimetres. He's not going to get shorter. If he can get first hand on the ball and give supply to Wycard, Parsons, Drew Kelly and the like, they'll get some good looks inside 50. Follows on to my X factor for the Chelt Footy Club, and that's Will McTaggart. If he can rediscover that form early part of the year where he was kicking bags, he's going to have plenty of space, he's going to get plenty of one-on-one opportunities. He could go a long way into Chelt breaking their long-standing Division 1 premiership drought. So, yeah, I've got those 2 as my go-to guys from the Cheltenham Footy Club.
I had Kelso as well. I mean, he's just a man mountain. I mean, you're hard pressed to get first hands on the footy with a bloke of that height and reach. I've gone McLaren as well. I mean, obviously with Kelso can fire in the ruck, that frees up McLaren to you know, go forward and hopefully impact the scoreboard. But what I'd really like to see is some 4-quarter performances from Big Smacker. So he tends to sort of go in and out of games and can have a dominant couple of quarters. But if he can string together solid 4 quarters, Cheltenham would more than likely go on to win the game. So he's vitally important. Wycard, obviously the superstar, but I'd like to chat about Utica for a moment, because he has put together an outstanding even, back half of the season, impacting the scoreboard, winning a lot of the hard footy, and geez, he's a player to watch.
Yeah, runs forward hard, likes to kick goals as a midfielder, which we love them come finals time. I think the other 4 sides in the finals will be looking at the tapes of young Rob Utica and putting a bit of time and effort into him. But yeah, as you say, since he's crossed over from St Bede's, halfway through the year, he's had a fantastic impact for the Chelt Footy Club and for the Southern Footy League.
Absolutely, and vital to their chances. St Paul's have sort of dropped off on the back of a few key injuries for them, which, you know, a bit disappointing from their point of view. The key player, probably an obvious one, Matty Krenborg, 2-time Ellis medalist, and just a bull around the contest, and hopefully he can hit the scoreboard with a bit more regularity.
Yeah, I've got him as my X factor for St Paul's, which seems a little bit silly because we all know how good a player he is, but he needs to kick goals for St Paul's if they're going to feature beyond week 1. Most important player for St Paul's, I've actually got down as their bottom 6. They have to get something from their bottom end of their list. They have to turn up and, you know, on Sunday, even if it's just play a role, whether it be negating one of the Port Colts' good players, whether it's just creating space for Muller up forward, or whether it's just laying those tackles, those must tackles. So they just all have to come and play their role, the bottom 6. So for me, they're their crucial ones. If they can get some impact or input out of their bottom 6, they can get through Sunday and live to fight to week 2 of the finals. If they don't, Port Colts run all over them.
And obviously another one that's vitally important, Nick Halliday, undersized for a ruckman, but cracks in really, really hard, and he's been in good form the last few weeks as well. So I'm expecting him to play a bit of an impact throughout the final series.
Yep, no doubt, absolutely.
And Port Colts, a bit of a newcomer to Division 1. I think this is their first Division 1 finals campaign. So well done to the guys down there. I've got earmarked Tyler Jones. I mean, he's a hard-running sort of wingman half-back. He loves a little bit of space, and I think Ben Kavanagh and obviously RSCA Park, grounds that will really sort of help him come into it, and he can have a massive, massive impact on those wide grounds, find the footy, find a little bit of space, and be hard to stop.
Yeah, he's very quick. It'd actually be a good 100-metre race between him and Adam Collinson from East Malvern. They've both got great wheels. Yeah, he's important, no doubt. I've got Della Libera as their key. Again, if they can get past week 1, he's got to do a job on Nick Halliday come Sunday, and then he comes up against, Big Giggsy from Dingley, Charlie Kelso / McLaren, and then also Chris Carey from East Malvern. So he needs to have a massive final series. Needs to keep his temper in check to make sure he gets through the games and doesn't do anything silly to get either sent off or reported. So he's super important to them in their finals aspirations. X Factor, I've got the two little fellas up front. They can play down back. They seem to like to play close together in Mitch Clark and Kel Cathcart. They can do the unpredictable, which makes them great to watch during the finals.
Absolutely, and we saw a little bit of footage that came across my desk during the week of Mitch Clark pulling out some party tricks at training, and Jesus Christ, there's nothing that that kid can't do. So watch this space. It should be an interesting final series there, Lockers. It'll certainly be hard fought. Plenty of good players to keep an eye on.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Now, the top 35 that we released last week got a fair bit of feedback throughout the week, and surprisingly, not all of it was negative.
It's amazing. So you've obviously done a great job, Will, because it was your side, your top 35. But
our side.
We got some feedback. There was obviously a fair few changes from the start of the year to the end of the year, but look, feedback's feedback. We take it on board, and guys that missed out, maybe play a bit better next year and get yourself in the top 35.
Exactly right. Good advice. A couple of the guys that they reckon were stiff, and we can certainly agree that they were definitely in the calculations. Cam Blitzes and Jack Worrell from Cheltenham, and as I just mentioned, Tyler Jones, who I'm a big fan of down at the Colts. I know a couple of the guys down there reckon he probably should have been higher than the co-captain JT down there. So 3 very, very good players.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky, all 3. Look, Jack Worrell gets enough accolades. Good-looking young man. He's good on and off the ground, Jack, but you can just have a rest, mate. You're in the top 38, Jack, not top 35.
Andy Mathers was questioning, where is their man Billy Hartung?
Came late to the season, young Billy. Let's see if he does it next year.
Another interesting comment that I got a bit of a chuckle out of from Alex Cater. Should have heard the uproar when Paul Fry found out he wasn't top 5.
And that would have been from Paul Fry himself. He's a character, so he would have absolutely thought he should have been in the top 5.
And from Teddy Edwards as well. Nick Halliday, that bloke you towed up in the granny last year, that's number 1.
Not sure he towed him up. It was a good contest, but look, Nick's a great player.
Yeah, he certainly is, and he'll have a massive impact on Saturday. Be an interesting contest, him and Della Libera on Sunday, but we'll talk about that in just a second. The fixtures and tips brought to you, of course, by Melsafe, the qualifying final on Saturday, East Malvern versus Cheltenham. Massive game.
Yeah, super game. They've 1-1 for the season. Chelt won at home, and then East Malvern returned the favour only a couple of weeks ago and won a really tight contest. Going to be a super interesting game. So both sides it actually fancy their chances, and so they should. They've both had great seasons, so expecting a cracking game on Saturday down at Mordialloc. I don't think the ground's going to favour one side against the other. I think they're pretty evenly matched across the board. I hope for the crowd's sake they can actually both impact the scoreboard, and we've got a free-flowing game of footy. But whatever it'll be real heat and a great game to watch. So, yeah, mate, I'm unsure on my tip. I'll go with Chelt just.
You're right. This is hard to pick as a broken nose. Be an interesting battle in the ruck. Obviously, Kelso and Carey, two big units battling it out, and some quality midfielders at their feet as well. So, stars all around the park. And as I said earlier in the show, you can throw a blanket over these top 3 in terms of how close they all are. I mean, there was 2 points separating them all up, and not much in terms of percentage. So, vitally important. I'm sort of leaning more towards East Malvern, more out of a gut feel than anything else, because really this game is flip of the coin. They'd be starting line ball in the odds. Gamble responsibly.
Yep,
if I was to frame a market, so
$1.80 a piece, I would suggest. No, it's going to be super close. It's good that we're on opposite sides of the fence, Will. So
yeah, absolutely, and
see how we go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So if you're not doing anything on Saturday, make sure you get down to not Cheltenham, to Morty Alec. Ben Kavanagh reserve. That'll be a cracking game of footy. As to, well, this one on Sunday, St Paul's versus Port Melbourne Colts. Last year's premiers taking on a first-year Division 1 finalist.
Yeah, and the loser gets to go home and lick their wounds, unfortunately. Elimination final. Look, Port Colts are in better form, no doubt. That's obvious. St Paul's have had a tough month or so. It's going to come down to experience versus maybe enthusiasm. I think Port Colts will get the job done, but I'm not confident at all. My biggest question mark about Port Colts is away from their home ground. We know Morty Alec's the biggest ground in Southern. Can they play a big ground, and can they play 4 quarters of footy? You know St Paul's will. They spread well on their ground. They've got youth still. They've got good running across all lines of the ground. So this will be really, really close. I expect Port Colts to be in the lead for a vast majority of the game. It's whether St Paul's can come back at them late. But I'll just go Port Colts.
And they really can, St Paul's. I mean, they're a fantastic four-quarter team. I'm leaning towards the Colts as well. I mean, I think that, as you say, winning form is great form. They'll carry that into the weekend, and it'll be an interesting battle again in the ruck. You've pegged all the ruckmen to have a bit of an impact in the final series, but a good way for Dalla Libra to go out. Interesting battle down back too. I mean, Muller, one of their most important players, and probably their only avenue to goal in recent weeks. So it'd be interesting to see who lines up on him. Maybe it's Torrin Bonnet would be a tough matchup for him. Maybe Max Mitchell-Russell could go with him at various stages, but they really need a chop out from Kremborg to impact the scoreboard there. Yep. I'm leaning more towards Port Colts, as I said. So yeah, we'll see what happens come Sunday.
We will do. We will do.
And we'll just quickly look at the result, the fixtures. I'm trying to get that word out. The fixtures for the reserves as well. East Melbourne taking on Dingley in the qualifying final on Saturday, and a home final for Morty Alec on Sunday against St Paul's, with Bentley having the week off. Yeah,
interesting. Morty Alec beat St Paul's in the seconds last week to pinch that 5th spot. Means Port Colts missed out. Obviously, it was a reverse in the seniors. So, and yeah, top spot last week was decided by a point where Bentley beat East Melbourne by a point to get the week off.
An interesting competition in the reserves as well. But of course, as we said, it'll be our last team of the week for season 2019. But we have been putting a bit of effort into the Team of the Year lockers, which will be announced at the Division 1 and 2 Grand Final Footy Show, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So looking forward to this one, lockers. We're Wednesday, the 11th of September. Put that in your calendar. We'll be going live. Still working on a venue, but we're just about to land on one, which will be great. So hopefully we can see a big crowd in the house for a feed and a few frothies, and celebrate the year that has been. And it should be a massive, massive week. Hopefully we can have, as I said, a big crowd in the house. We'll have some special guests lined up, and it'll be a massive, massive show.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good fun. Yeah, Team of the Year, we put a little bit of work into it, and we've come up with 22 names plus a coach, a Team of the Year coach to name on the night. So again, we expect plenty of feedback, Will, which we'll get no doubt. So yeah, it'll be good fun on the 11th.
And if our form so far throughout the year's been any indication, we'll get overwhelmingly positive feedback, lockers, because we have been shooting the lights out all season with our expert analysis.
Absolutely.
That's it for this show. It's been a good show, and I'm looking forward to the finals over the weekend, mate. It'll be absolutely massive. Yeah,
it's good for me. I've got about a 50-metre walk to get to the front gate, so I'll be there both days.
Behave yourself.
I will do.
We'll have a nice day on the frothies, watching some cracking footy. Hopefully it's some cracking weather as well. We should get Jane Bunn in again to do the weather report, but it'll be absolutely fantastic. If you can't get down there, make sure you download the Gameface app and follow all the live scores and everything that's been going on in the Southern Footy and Netball League, especially in this Division 1, which we're really looking forward to, some cracking games. So it'll be good. I'll see you around about this time next week, lockers. Yep. Enjoy the weekend.
Absolutely, will do.
It'll be a cracking weekend, that's for sure. We'll catch you again this time next week. In the meantime, get your Gameface on.
Get your Gameface on.